George Bruno with the 21 Report. We are at the 21 Summit in Orlando, Florida. The year is 2020, and I'm talking to Mr. Terrence Popp. Welcome.
Winning. Yeah.
How'd it go in there? You just came off stage.
Yeah, it went pretty good. I think I talked for like 50 minutes, 45, 50 minutes, and then we had like a 10-minute Q&A.
Excellent. What did you talk about today?
Well, again, I was just talking about, basically, it is almost exactly the same briefing I would give male soldiers when they would process into my unit, trying to warn them about all the craziness that takes place and how it can ruin their life in an instant. Scary stuff.
Yeah. As men enter into the world, it is kind of a war, isn't it, so to speak?
Well, the thing is like these guys would show up, they're 18.
Yeah.
I have no idea what lies before them and how dangerous it can be. And, as the first sergeant or platoon sergeant, it was my job to make sure that that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So it was almost identical. There's a few things I threw in there, a couple jokes, some swear words that, I can't really stop doing that. It's hard.
Yeah.
Trying to get around it by using the military code I used to talk around. So when they you can't say the F word, I'm like, well, okay. Then it would become Peg D to the slot B.
Yeah.
I'd be like, why are you giving me the Peg D to the slot B? We all know what that means. I'm just not saying the big F-bomb.
Yeah.
So they really can't get upset. And if they do it, there's nothing they can do about it. And so I don't care.
You have a YouTube channel that's very popular, and you speak to a lot of men.
Correct.
And who is there such thing as like your typical subscriber? Who?
I really wouldn't know what the actual demographic is. I looked on YouTube, and a lot of it's like 26 to 35 is the majority of them.
Okay. And what does the average man, 25, 26, 35-ish, what are they dealing with the most these days?
They're in the zone to get married. That is, you get about 24, 25, yeah, you're in the zone.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys probably are like, whoa, this is getting real.
Yeah.
I better educate myself.
Yeah.
And I try to do it using comedy.
Yeah.
Because, if you're laughing about it, I'm actually in your brain pan, flipping switch in your thinking meat, and you don't even know it.
Right.
It's a win.
What's the biggest thing a man has to worry about or be concerned about or be aware of before he gets married or when he finally says, I think I want to be married?
He needs to know the stats of how easy it is for the wife or him to get a divorce. Usually the first ones are 50-50. You have a 50% chance of divorce. Second marriage, 63. Third marriage is 73 to 74% chance of divorce, with 80% of those divorces filed by the woman. Now, if you were facing those odds and you were gambling, say, $100,000, would you do that?
Yeah.
Hell no. I wouldn't.
I heard some people talk about if you were going skydiving and the instructor said, this parachute that I'm putting on you has a 50% chance of opening. Yep. I've heard people say that.
Would you take the plunge?
Yeah.
No,
Right.
I wouldn't.
Right.
But the thing is a lot of these men don't seem to realize that the actual pain and misery that lies before them if it should fail. A lot of them are like, I just want to have kids. Look, I wanted to have kids too, but the emotional toll, the financial toll, and the spiritual toll of what happened to me, I would not wish on anyone else. It was bad.
I see a lot of phrases from the financial world being used in the men's community. Risk and reward, ROI, return on investment.
Yes.
And then the more casual things, like the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing. Let's go back to the financial ones, risk and reward. Explain how that relates to...
Well, the term I use is, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. All right, if you get with a woman and she just stays home, is a pain in your ass. I mean, it's really just a money pit, and it's probably not going to go anywhere good because all of the laws of the land favor the woman. So basically, women are dealing with 21st century laws, and men are dealing with laws from 1800s and the early 1900s. That's like going to
Wow.
war against a modern army with Civil War equipment. Good luck with that.
I've never heard it described like that, but the dots just connected in my head when you said that.
That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I think, though. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I did all the time in the Army. I think in tactical terms.
Mm-hmm. What are the characteristics of a relationship that actually does make it?
Oh, well, since I have yet to actually have that happen to me, I'm really not the guy to answer that. I can tell you the stuff that will not make it work, and maybe they could, skirt the edges of the objective to figure it out. But
Yeah.
like one of the big ones I came up with, and this is a comedic term, is the dick stacking test. Because after a certain amount, women just can't pair bond anymore.
Right.
All right. So you try to get an actual body count of, her past, and once you get that number, you multiply by 6, divide by 12, and in your head, you put a platform at that altitude and push her off.
Mm-hmm.
If she so much as just gets a skin knee, that's too many cocks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then you realize that it is a casual thing, or it's never taken to the next level, because to do so was to basically sign your own destruction.
Yeah.
You basically sign your name on the list to destroy your life.
Yeah. I've seen some people say never reveal what your notch count is, but know what their notch count is. Do you agree with that?
Well, yes and no. Well, men can actually, and it's not a double standard, it's just the way it works. Men can have a greater notch count, but still provide and be a productive portion of that relationship. Women, on the other hand, just don't. I mean, there's studies out there, you just got to Google them or search them on Bing or Brave browser. And I think the number's like 4 or 6, that after that, the chances of a successful marriage go into the single digits.
Yeah. I had heard it was around 6.
Now,
something like
now
that.
listen, I personally don't care.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm cool with that. I just am not cool with them getting mad because they're not being taken to the next level.
Right.
They can hang out with me. We'll go on a boat. I can travel with them and stuff, but they're not moving into my house, and I'm never getting married. That's just the way it is.
Some of the guys would teach that the woman needs to know that right from the get. We're not getting married. You're not moving in. So let's proceed. Do women object to that?
Yes, they do. Even though 80% of divorces are filed by women, they're still instinctively driven for that protection and security. Even though when they finally get the protection and security, they don't want it. They want to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
It's crazy the way that women are being programmed today.
Do you think notch count for men is different than notch count for women? Like, for instance, if a guy was with 30 women, and a woman was with 30 guys in her past, do you think it affects the woman more than it affects the man?
Yes.
I believe so too. I think, like, the door does not swing in both directions
No,
with those kind of numbers.
And when you hear feminists, you're like, well, it's not fair, it's a double standard. I'm like, listen, it just goes back to our biological programming. That's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Men are designed instinctively to do that kind of breeding strategy if the other one doesn't work. I don't agree with it. I mean, my children, I had them on purpose. I was ready, and that's the way it worked out. I mean, having children willy-nilly is not good.
Do you think we went from sex for breeding to sex for recreation? Was there a point in the timeline in history where, like, I mean, sex has always been fun, obviously, but with the online dating app swiping left and right culture, I don't think those women are on there looking for a father for their children.
I would have to agree with you.
What are they looking for?
Well, first of all, I've done the online dating, but I don't partake in the swipe right or left thing.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get, because it's just kind of nasty.
Yeah, yeah.
It reminds me, it was an old sci-fi movie, Logan's Run.
Yes.
It's exactly, I'm like, he like just scans through a bunch of women and
Yeah,
you know, one comes to his apartment,
yeah.
and then that's it. I mean, granted, I guess it could be fun for a little while, but I don't know. It's just not my thing.
Sci-fi, in my mind, has always been kind of prophetic. I look at some of the old sci-fi things, and I think, my God, they were predicting the future.
Yes, they were. 1984.
Oh, just amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
And the thing is, a lot of that stuff from 1984, a lot of those ideas came from the kind of Communism Manifesto,
Yeah.
which is being regurgitated and reworded for the BLM, Antifa, and all the craziness that's going on today in 2020.
And most people don't realize 1984 was written by Orwell in what, 48 or 49?
Yeah.
Like right after World War II, and I'm thinking, holy cow, how did he predict what's going on now?
Well, because he basically looked at the Communist Manifesto, and that is actual product of other movements that took place in France. It's been evolving. So apparently that happens, it leapfrogs through time, and we are now in the current iteration of the next leap here in the United States.
I've only heard the phrase Orwellian probably only like in the past 10 years, because it seems like it's all true.
Yes, it's spooky. It's like he was the Nostradamus or something.
When I've watched 1984, and I watch it every so often, 2 or 3 times a year, I have to stop and pause and go, how did he know this? It's interesting.
It is. It's mind-boggling.
Did you ever see the movie Ex Machina?
I have not.
The guy that creates these android women, and they're with interchangeable faces, and they can have, I guess, kind of like these dolls
The
that
sex
guys,
dolls?
yeah, like that, except
Yeah.
they're like robotic and they have
All right, now-
personalities and whatever.
That whole sex doll thing. All right, now listen. I'm not going to knock anyone if they want to do that. That's
Yeah.
fine. I myself, no, not
Yeah.
doing it. Number one, it's just kind of creepy. 2, can you imagine a man taking a life-size doll that looks like a real woman out of the trunk of his car,
Yeah,
slinging it over his shoulder, carrying it into his house? You're going to have somebody call a SWAT team on you, man.
yeah, right.
And then when they kick down your door and they see what's going on, then you're like, oh man, this guy's like a turbo creep right
Yeah.
there.
I know there's guys that like sit it up at the kitchen table,
Yes.
and they're like, all right, I'm going to work, see you later, honey. And then when they walk in the door at 5:30, like, hi, honey, how was your day? And I'm like,
That is,
okay.
yeah, that's not, no.
Yeah,
No, I'm cool with solitude.
yeah.
I mean,
I'm known for solitude.
Yes.
I'm known for going camping by myself,
Yes.
hiking by myself. Love it.
yeah. I mean, it's not for everyone, but
Mm-hmm.
I was only married for 6.5 years. The rest of the time, I've been a single dude, and I've just grown accustomed to it.
Do you think someone has to be happy and content as a single guy before they can be happy and content as a married guy?
It sure helps.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. Because a lot of times men will stay in bad relationships because they fear being single, alone, and isolated. If you don't have that fear going into it, then that really takes away the hammer over your head that's like taking a tool out of her box to influence and scare you.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to die alone. All right.
Okay.
Doesn't bother me. We all die alone. I have never seen a side saddle coffin.
Yeah, right. The movie Jerry Maguire really
Oh,
jacked up a lot of guys. I'll never forget that one scene, you know, the "you complete me," you know, and "you complete me," he said or she said in sign language, whatever. And that got a lot of guys thinking that they need a woman. She's the missing piece. Does a woman complete a man?
no. No, they complement, but they don't complete. It's different. It's like women are like, well, men and women are equal. No, you're not. You're equally valued, but in regards to how you're built and how your minds work, you're not equal. I mean, we have an analogy we use, like barbecue. Like, if I'm gonna have a barbecue, right, and I'm bringing ribs and chicken, you just bring the other sides. And she shows up with ribs and chicken. What are you gonna do? Eat nothing but ribs and chicken? It doesn't work. It just brings something else to the table.
Right.
You know, maybe you're good at making fruit salad, regular salad, and you bake a mean roll. Do that and bring it to the barbecue.
Yeah.
And then it'd be great. There you go.
I used to have parties, and I would say, guys bring something to drink, and guys would bring cases of beer, soda, water, bottles of wine, and women bring something to eat. And some women would just bring chips and salsa, chips and dip, and then some of the women would make the 7-layer Mexican dip.
I love those.
And all of those, and I'm like, and they really got into it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know a guy that would do that.
No.
So it worked.
Yeah.
Guys bring something to drink, women bring something to eat, and and they loved it.
Yeah.
Women would always come in with their dishes and whatever. And does your message change from the 25-year-old guy to the 45-year-old guy to the 55-year-old guy?
Well, if you go through my video category, I do videos on all kinds of subjects. A lot of them for the younger guys, all the way up to the guys who are 50. Like the guys who are, middle-aged and beyond. Just do your thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid. Don't quit. Just because you're old doesn't mean you're out of the fight. You just have to fight different.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. I can't physically fight anymore. I'm old.
Mm-hmm.
But I shoot off my mouth instead of shooting off guns.
Yeah.
I can influence a lot more people by doing that. You just gotta change it up.
I have found in the dating world, I'm single, I'm 60 years old, some people ask me, what is it like dating at 60? And I said, it's the same as dating at 25, except they have gray hair. Like, really nothing has changed. They just look older. Mm. The female nature thing is pretty consistent throughout their decades.
Yeah, not so much for men. Usually, as a man ages, if he's been seasoned properly, right around 25 to 35, he'll make that adjustment to I am a citizen of this world, and I will participate. The younger dudes I play video games, go to college, and maybe I'll get some tail here or there.
Yeah.
They're not really, the only time that you see that the younger guys, thinking and acting as older guys is guys in the military, because they force you.
Let's go back to the concept of solitude.
Okay.
I find that when I talk about it on my channel that a lot of people respond. And sometimes they email me privately because they don't want to make it public. They don't want to expose
their word salad.
Yeah.
All right.
So what are the benefits of solitude for a man?
Tranquility and peace. I mean, I do a lot of my best thinking when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally am in my third fiction novel, and most of the time I write that between 10 at night and 3 in the morning. Mm. I may or may not be drunk, but and I don't have a lot of distractions. My money's my money. My time is my time. I do whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want to do it. I don't have to explain to anyone why. and that adds more to the tranquility and peace. And it's not a bad thing. It's really not.
Yeah, some people think that being alone is a bad thing.
You're a weirdo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A loner.
That's nothing wrong. Well, a loner, I mean, in the 80s and 70s, a loner was a bad thing.
Antisocial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in the 90s, a loner was just a guy who just did his own thing,
Yeah.
which doesn't really have the negative connotations today as it once did.
Yeah. Do you go to public events, parties or gatherings, ceremonies, different things, and then you desire to have a girl accompany you? Like, and can you pick up the phone and say, hey, I got a party I have to go to, and
No, not really.
No.
I don't have anybody in my life like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just not important anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, it's not really a top priority anymore. Number two, there are a lot of negative downsides that are the risk versus reward.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, you know, the time to involve something like that, kind of not really worth it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
That's cool. I respect that.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge that men have to face today? What do you think?
The biggest challenge men have to face today is dealing with the legal connotations of marriage and the fallout from marriage.
Mm.
Like I said, the laws of the 21st century versus the laws of the 1860s to 1930s.
Yeah. The imagery of the using Civil War, weaponry versus modern weaponry.
You're done.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get. Maybe you'll you can inflict a few casualties, but at the end of the day, they're gonna eat your lunch.
Yeah.
You're done.
How does a man vet a woman?
Oh. Well, let's see. Number one, men are all looks is number one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Looks is what gets you in the door. What keeps you in the game is being cool, holding your, being self-sufficient to a certain degree, and, loyalty and not being a backstabber.
Mm-hmm.
Like members of my own family, like my sister stabbed me huge in the back a couple years back, and that was it. I'm like, you know what? This is actually, I guess this is part of woman's nature, and there's really not a lot of room left for any more knives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's regretful to get to that point, but you have to do it for your own sanity, safety, and just mental health, I think, sometimes.
Yes. I mean, you really don't want to be somebody's emotional punching bag.
Yeah.
It's just not good.
Yeah.
My advice is any dude out there who's in a relationship like that, pull the ripcord and get the hell out.
Yeah. I've been using that phrase recently, pulling the ripcord.
Yep.
That really does, it's always interesting when I see like these skydiving programs and there's a cameraman, and he's floating down on his parachute and the other person is falling, and then as soon as he pulls that, he's out of there.
Yeah.
He's out of there.
Yeah, that's free falling.
Yeah, and the ripcord analogy is so perfect when it comes to that, when it comes to being in relationships and deciding that this isn't for you anymore.
Correct.
How does a man pull a ripcord in a relationship?
Well, it depends. If you've been, in a relationship for a while, you just stand up, tell them to their face, this isn't working, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
If you think it's going to go south and there's going to be some shenanigans, you ghost.
Yeah.
And you just basically close up the sub, run silent, run deep.
Yeah.
Stay away from the death charges.
Yeah.
And just ride out the storm.
Yeah. Do you have any female subscribers?
Well, I know I have like 15 that always downvote everything I do, no matter what, no matter what. And it's all right. I think it's kind of funny. But there are a few out there who
But they're watching you.
Yeah.
That means they got to be watching you in order to downvote you.
Every time.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, I know there are some out there that actually like my content, and that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't limit my content strictly to women. Anyone can watch it, whenever.
Yeah.
You know, and I would advise women watch it to figure out, you know, just what has become of the modern dating market at the hands of feminism. And
Why would a man not like your content? I can see why a man would like it. He's going to get a lot of tools for his toolbox. What objections have you gotten from men? Like when guys disagree with you, what do they disagree about?
Well, let's see. I've had some guys leave negative comments because they don't like the fact that I'm a Republican and I voted for Trump. And the only reason I voted for Trump is I wanted him to go against China, which he's doing. Mm-hmm. Everything else I don't give a shit about it at all. You know, I get a lot of white knights on there who get mad at me for telling the truth in regards to women nature. When I did the Why We Need Bullies episode, I got hundreds of just nasty comments and probably 50, 60 emails. Somebody actually made a response video in regards to that, which I found hilarious. You know, and I actually sent the guy a private message like, that's a pretty good video. Enjoyed it, thank you, but it's not that bad. You know, because when you think about it, when you're in grade school, everyone has to face, well, at least they used to, everyone used to have to face a bully. Mm-hmm. And if you did it early, the worst consequences was maybe a fat lip, sent home from school. Mm-hmm. And the longer that goes on, the worse it is.
Yeah.
And they've taken those lessons out of the school. So I got a lot of hate mail for that one, man. Mm-hmm. That was insane. But I would do it again. I don't care.
Yeah. Many years ago, I was at my I was invited to a play that my son was in elementary school. I don't know, he might have been in 5th grade or something. When I was in school, the school plays were like South Pacific, Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, just classic stage plays that were fun. This was an anti-bullying play, and it was nothing but political correctness for an hour and a half, and I just was scratching my head, and that really bothered me, that this was part of his education.
Yeah,
state-sponsored education.
It's state-sponsored brainwashing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. I used to do propaganda for the Army. I know it when I see it, and it's all over the mainstream media now.
If you say it enough, it becomes normal.
Yes,
people believe it.
It's and the thing is I've lost a lot of my liberal friends because they buy this stuff hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
And the minute you tell them, hey, you're being weak-minded, this is propaganda, they get offended, they get upset, and then usually they unfriend me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Which I don't care. I'm a student of the truth and reality. When I walk around the world, I see the truth before me. Mm-hmm. When I watch it on TV, if somebody's saying something that contradicts what I see in the real world, I don't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to go every year to a father and son breakfast with the same son. I got 2 sons. To his school. It was cool. And then it was literally year after year the father and son annual breakfast. And then it was father figure and son breakfast. And I thought, why'd they change the name? And it was some women that were accompanying their sons, women with very short hair.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, so that's this boy's father figure. And I always thought, okay, now they're changing the definition of father.
Yes. Well, they're trying.
They're trying. And that was weird.
Well, I made a joke about that.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, you and I know men really are not students of punctuation for the most part. The comma, in my opinion, is just a suggestion, and it's open to interpretation where you put it when you write. Well, father is spelled F-A-T-H-E-R. Put a comma between the T and H. It becomes Fat Her Day. And then a man will read it Father's Day. So you kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
That's a good one. I'm going to have to steal that.
It's totally true.
I like that.
But, you know, if you want to do it with Father's Day, just add Father's Day, just add a comma.
Yeah.
It's Fat Her Day, and it is what it is.
Interesting. I bought a dictionary from, the dictionary's copyright date was 1871.
Yeah?
And I love this thing because think about how different the world is in 1871. And you just look up the simplest things: marriage, father, mother, and you get like the real definitions.
Yes.
Compare, just like get 10 words, just 10 words like that, and then look them up in a modern dictionary. It's like they're talking about two different things.
And talk about confusion.
Unreal.
Yeah, that's another thing I do on my channel is I try to boil it all down to the basics.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I communicate with all my soldiers for decades.
Yeah.
I boil everything down to a 10th grade education. I speak to them at that level, and everything's true. You know, you don't want to get caught lying to people.
Yeah.
I try not to do that. I'm not a terrible liar anyway. Never been good at it. So, I think the new dictionary is basically just a lie.
Yeah. Propaganda.
Yeah, they're changing definitions to fit a narrative instead of the real world.
Yeah.
I mean, how else do you get 125 genders?
Yeah.
And counting.
Yeah.
How do those genders interact? I mean, what? I don't get it. That's just me, though. What do I know?
Yeah, exactly. I always say the truth is offensive before it's effective. And there's a lot of people getting deplatformed. In the Middle Ages, they would pull the tongues out of people. Now they just ban you, deplatform you, and...
Yeah, my show's been shadow banned for years.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like you should have more followers if it was just out there without some weird shadow banning algorithm?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, my program is really good. I have a very good producer. He puts everything together well. I'm just the crazy guy who comes up with the ideas. We film it, he figures it out, puts it together, and it's always spot on, top tier stuff.
Is it independent of the YouTube platform? Do you have it at a like your own platform, or?
We're working on trying to set up our own platform, but we have moved over to Brighteon, BitChute, MGTOW TV, Library, DTube, and there's 6 or 7 other ones.
Nice. Just in case you get shut down on one, you can rely on the others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. What is the goal of your social media?
What do you mean? My social?
Like your YouTube channel and all your
Oh,
all
yeah.
the videos. What is there?
My ultimate goal is to keep men from killing themselves. I mean, this is killing dudes, and no one's talking about it.
Yeah.
It is an insane rash of dudes smoking themselves, for a non-political correct term.
Yeah.
But nobody's doing anything about it.
Wow.
Nobody's talking about it.
I will say this, you are an important voice, not just in the men's community, but an important voice in the world.
I appreciate that.
It's a worthy goal, truly is. When you said that, you defined your mission in one sentence, and that's amazing.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Where can people find out more about you?
Well, if you go to YouTube and search for redonkulous.com, you'll find my channel. If you go on any search bar, look for redonkulous.com, you'll find me. I also run secondclasscitizen.org, and our mission is basically to educate the youth of today in regards to divorce, the family courts, and male suicide.
Love it. Thank you for your work. It's super important. Terrence Popp.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.